I am too young and unaccomplished to give anyone life advice. I'm not as resilient as many of my friends who've been through war and real hardships. I don't know more about the world than anyone sitting here. And in fact, I am unsure about my life, anxious about the future, and aware that this comfortable life that I'm living has so far more to do with luck and my parents' support instead of my own ability. So what can I tell you to make sure this talk worth the 15 minutes of your life that won't ever come back? January 4th, 2026, 10 a.m. I'm in Frankfurt Airport. A group of police armed with hacker called MP5 submachine guns are taking me to the detention room. I'm accused of committing a crime for bringing a self-defense pepper spray. By show of hands, how many people have been to the detention room before? I don't see maybe because you don't know. But I sat in the detention room. The police officer is right there in front of me, typing all my information into this huge computer with 3 monitors. And between us, there's a camera fixed on me to make sure I don't do anything suspicious. So I sat there, doing absolutely nothing. And I thought of this famous writer during World War I, Franz Kafka. At that moment, I felt Kafka deep in my heart. I felt like a guy in the famous book Metamorphosis, who woke up and finding himself becoming a coke. I woke up that day in my bed, and now I'm in a detention room. All of this happened because of a snowstorm in Frankfurt. I set out from Shanghai to Frankfurt just for a connecting flight to Amsterdam. If that tiny swirl of warm air didn't pass over the ocean, that causes a chain of atmospheric reaction that finally caused a snowstorm, my connecting flight wouldn't have been canceled and it wouldn't even enter Germany. After realizing this, I just felt absurd, surreal, random. You see, it's a butterfly effect. All the odds in the universe are just constantly changing and reacting. On the same morning that I was put into the detention room, US struck Venezuela and Lufthansa lost all my luggage. These are not comparable events on scale, but they do share the same core. What will happen to us, individuals, are not in our control. Things happen anyways without us allowing it. If you think this is a bit too vague, you can think of this example. Imagine yourself, you're cycling through a park. You see that all the blue trees, the green trees, the blue skies, and you see the people lying on the grassland with this golden sunshine everywhere. So you smile, so you open up your eyes, and then suddenly, a bug flew right into your eye. How many people have encountered this situation before? Okay, now I see hands. But now, I want you to change your perspective. Imagine yourself, you're the bug. How would you feel? You're flying as usual in this warm air, and suddenly you're this giant monster that's probably 1,000,000 times bigger than you just crashed towards you. And in the next moment, you're dead. My point here is that we, as individuals, are just like that bug in relation to the world. Some situations just naturally arise in the world and we simply run into them. This realization made a shiver run down my spine as I came to this realization in that very detention. I wanted to cry. Not only for the scary fact that I'm accused of committing a crime, or in fact several days earlier rejected from the university that I applied to, but for losing the illusion of certainty that I spent my life grasping. At that moment, I felt the ultimate heaviness of life. I believe some of you might know this term from a famous book by Milan Kundera, The Unbearable Lightness of Being. In the book, the heaviness of being is defined as a life that's guided by responsibility. There's permanent and commitment in things, and every action means something in a larger scheme. And in contrary, the lightness of being is the idea that what had happened but once might as well as not happen at all. All the meanings are socially constructed, and they chain us down from freedom. But this heaviness I felt in the detention room is different. It's not that kind of existential heaviness. It's not about meaning or responsibility, but it's about a fear. It's a fear it creates when I see the contradiction of the certainty that my mind demands and the randomness the world offers. And I realize that it is often this contradiction that causes all suffering, anger, and sadness. This is not a new idea. Marcus Aurelius said, if you're distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to an aspect of it. The Buddha says, for all craving springs greed, for all craving springs fear. Schopenhauer says, for all suffering is nothing but an unfulfilled and frustrated willing. So here comes the big question. How to deal with this clash between the certainty that our minds demands and the randomness that the world offers? How to deal with this unpredictability without frustration, but grace? I was here to introduce a mindset, the joyful lightness of being. First, the joyful lightness of being lies in the realization that no matter what happens to us, we have the total agency to control how to react. Last winter, I was living in a Taoist temple. Taoism is an ancient religion in China where it urges people to live in harmony with the universe. And I went there out of total curiosity because I heard that they're offering a course called Immortal Cultivation. And I think being immortal is a very cool thing to learn about, so I went there and I found that the culture in the temple is an interesting blend between traditional Chinese mysticism and modernity. So before every meal, all of us, the student, the long-term student, the master, the volunteer, would sit in front of this table. And we would chant. 100 grains enter the stomach, uniting with the spirit's energy, replenishing the blood, vanquishing evil spirit, eternal life in earth and heaven, ascending to the jade palace, cultivating truth and understanding the way, guarded by the divine child. You feel the Asian energy here? But it's on the same table that we're about to watch The Edge of Tomorrow. I was left in awe after the movie ended because I just watched this US-produced, Hollywood-style, extremely dramatic action film about aliens invasion at the least possible place. But what shocked me even more is that one of the long-term students that's sitting beside me, who's actually European, that came all the way from Ireland to China for this temple, just shrugged his shoulder and said, yeah, I've seen aliens. Sure. Wow. But I mean, why not, right? There's still so many things in the universe that we don't know about. And he's definitely not on drug, because drug in China is extremely illegal. So I asked, how was the situation like? Is that an alien, a he, a she, a they, or is it friendly? And then he described this night several years ago. He was also in the temple. It's already at midnight. He already went to bed. And then he suddenly woke up in this extreme darkness. And he saw something emerging from nowhere. An alien's face. He said that at that moment, he saw 3 options of how to react. First, he could panic. And second, he could go and talk to that alien. And thirdly, he could just pretend that nothing happened, accept it, and go back to sleep. He first eliminated the first option, because years of spiritual training make him realize that panicking won't help at all situations. He then thought about the second option. He thought that it can indeed be very interesting if we can talk to the alien. But the way for aliens to communicate is probably not talking. And if they do talk by any chance, they probably don't speak the same language. So he eliminated the second option, and he chose the third. He was accepted, but went back to sleep. Okay, so why am I telling this right here? I'm not convincing you that aliens exist. And probably all of us, if not most, that we won't see an alien in our lifetime, whether it's lucky or in fact unlucky. But my point is that most of us will encounter that metaphorical alien in our lives. Whereas me being taken to that very detention room, a loss of something profound to your life, or a sudden geopolitical conflict. The joyful lightness of being lies in the idea that no matter what happened to you, you have the total agency of how to react. Even if there's an alien right in front of you, you can still choose to go back to sleep. And by acknowledging this total agency of yours, you become not only the passive recipient of the unpredictability of the universe, but an active fighter. You therefore exceed this unpredictability and become God of your own action. And then there's a second method to reach this joyful lightness of being. And I would call it the BRYS method, which stands for Be Random Yourself. It's similar to your vaccination if you think about it. We all know the idea of vaccination, right? You inject a small dose of virus into your body so that your body knows how to react when it actually catches it. And then if we inject this small dose of randomness in our lives, then our mind would produce the antibody that tells us how to react when you catch a bigger randomness in the universe. But how to inject this randomness and how to define this randomness? I would say that this randomness is definitely not reckless. But it's more like going to somewhere that's unknown to you. Talk to someone that you've never talked to before. And in fact, do something that's slightly outside of the social norm. And this is what I'm going to do now. In the next several seconds, you're going to hear a song produced by Johannes, a hippie musician I met in Amsterdam. We started with a conversation at a Saturday flea market, and we ended up producing a documentary about his songs and visiting all his friends around Amsterdam, and it was a very interesting experience. And now, at the same time, I'm going to juggle with the 3 balls. But you know what? Because I don't know how to juggle. I thought I could learn before this speech, but I didn't manage to. So I'm just going to try my best. Let's wait for the song here.
And we go and we go and we go and we go and we get where we go. We don't know, we don't know, we don't know where we go and we go. But we keep on playing and we keep on saying, oh, keep on smiling.
Okay. And now, I'm gonna end with a metaphor.
And we go and we go and we go and we go and we get where we go. We don't know, we don't know.
It's like a theme park emerging from nowhere. We had nothing before we were born, and we will have
But we
nothing.
keep on playing and we keep on
After we die.
saying,
So why not choose the joyful
smiling.
lightness of being? Why not choose love over hatred, playfulness over fear, and peace over war? Thank you.